Hello, my name is Jared Heimlitz, and I am a Dean of Students at a elementary school in rural Louisiana. It's about 40 miles north of Baton Rouge called Jackson, Louisiana. And the reason I want to lead a school is because I feel the I feel like the most good I can do is to empower others to be successful to help children. And if I became a teacher, or when I was a teacher, I could only help the children that are in my classroom and then sometimes support other teachers either within my grade or within my content. But as a school leader, I can help empower all of the staff and all of the teachers to really make a difference in these kids' lives. And I think the most amount of people that can support children effectively can provide the most good. The second question was, why do I want to lead in a rural school? And this question has really transformed my whole thought process and outlook on education, which is resources. And resources in urban schools are more plentiful just for the fact of concentrated students as well as access to different types of resources and experiences within that community. So a school in Baton Rouge has access to different programming for schools in Baton Rouge. They have access to libraries and museums and different types of programs. Even if they're not just for students in East Baton Rouge Parish, they're also closer to their school, so it's easier to access them as well as for students. Versus my students, it would take about a $200 bus ride just to get to Baton Rouge, let alone then the expenses of the field trip. As well as there's one library in our school that has about five, or in our parish, and there's only about 5 or 6 computers versus in East Baton Rouge Parish, there's about 15 different libraries that have anywhere from 20 to 50 computers. And so I think it's really important to provide a quality experience as well as an education in rural Louisiana, or just rural in general, because of the lack of resources. And so people typically don't want to go to schools that are in rural or in rural parishes or towns because the pay isn't always as good. The resources at the school probably aren't as good, as well as just having to live or commute to a rural school. And so for me, I think it's so important that these children, more than any other children, in my opinion, should have access to really quality teachers to try to help bridge that gap of lack of resources. And finally, the last question was, if there were teachers and professionals and staff and parents, if they were to say one word about me, what would it be? And so I decided to go out and ask. I wanted to know, what do people really think about me? Because I can tell you some flattering word and then describe why I think it is, but I think the real true authenticness is, what do people actually think? And so the word that I came up with as a kind of way to combine everyone's is structure. And so people, when they think of me, they think of consistency, they think of strict, they think of efficiency, they think of timely. And so I feel like all those things together make up quality structure. And I think people feel that way about me because as my role in leadership in this school, as well as when I was a teacher, I was very mindful of being consistent and providing structure for students. And so my students specifically don't have as much structure at home due to family instances or the effects of poverty, or just due to the lack of access to programs and healthcare and different things at home. And so structure to me is really important for students. And so when I became an educator, I was very intentional about being very structured and very consistent. And as I've progressed in my career, being a professional learning community team leader and now as a dean of students, it's important for me to be consistent, to be strict, to hold kids accountable, but also give them the structures to be successful. And so I think that's also translated into my work working with adults. And so when I give data, it's very timely and specific, and then I give structures for them to look at that data and to reflect. And so I think it's really important that, to me, you give people not only access to resources, knowledge, or things, but you also give them a structure to be successful with those things. And the same thing goes for children. I think it's important to give them a high quality education. But at the end of the day, if there isn't a structure for them, a consistent structure for them to learn that content, then it's not going to be as successful. And so I appreciate and think that structure is a good word to describe me.